Jasmine Crockett went speechless as Kevin Kiley caught her off guard.
It seems like blue states are constantly putting red states on life support, yet we got these little red states that ain't contributing nothing, but they are definitely taking up a lot of money, you know.
Jasmine ignored the topic and shifted her focus onto red states versus blue states. And that's when Kevin Kiley caught her misquoting and debunked her with brutally straight facts.
I want to briefly address a comment that the ranking member, the representative from Texas, made about my state, California, claiming that our state gives disproportionately to the federal government and is some sort of donor state. Actually, the state of California gives nothing to the federal government. Individuals and businesses do pay taxes.
And today, we're covering it all. So if you believe truth isn't partisan, hit that subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Earlier, someone mentioned these hellholes, talking about the cities, right? Talking about cities being hellholes. I just want to point to Los Angeles. I'm sure that's one of the cities they were referring to when they said that. Los Angeles contributes almost $20 billion in taxes. You know what? That's more than all states in this country except for 4. So guess what? If we are going to push any ideologies, it seems like LA should have an outsized interest in the ideology, because it seems like they actually contribute more money than all these other states, especially these red states, to be clear. In fact, I have another UC.
Without objection.
All right, blue states are bailing out red states. I have another UC.
Without objection.
Massachusetts sends more funding to the feds than any other state. It seems like blue states are constantly putting red states on life support, yet we got these little red states that ain't contributing nothing, but they are definitely taking up a lot of money. You know, it is interesting because the governor in California, I don't know if you caught this, but Governor Newsom was talking about just holding on to his dollars, because California is what they call a donor state, meaning that they actually contribute more than they take from the federal government.
Now, to clear the picture, this hearing was to dig into how leftist nonprofit networks exploit federal tax dollars to advance a radical agenda. He started by explaining how the claim of major cities pushing their certain ideologies is flawed. She brought up Los Angeles, as it was previously quoted as an example. If cities are blamed for pushing agendas and their effectiveness depends on their tax collection, then Los Angeles would have been on top. Then she diverted herself from the topic and shifted it towards blue states, with California being the center of attention. The argument of analyzing based on states being on the side of Democrats or Republicans, that's flawed in itself. Many major red states, such as Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, were blue just a few years ago. So you can't determine the tax collection of any state based on its governor's leanings. And this isn't just it. Let's see how Kiley explained it through the comparison between California and Los Angeles that Jasmine drew earlier.
I want to briefly address a comment that the ranking member, the representative from Texas, made about my state, California, claiming that our state gives disproportionately to the federal government and is some sort of donor state. Actually, the state of California gives nothing to the federal government. Individuals and businesses do pay taxes, and Governor Newsom's suggestion that we should withhold those taxes, as our Treasury Secretary has pointed out, is threatening to commit the felony of criminal tax evasion. As to this notion that Los Angeles is somehow a model of good governance, just today, Los Angeles came out with its new homelessness numbers. The current count is 72,308. The police chief in LA has formally advised people not to wear jewelry when they go outside because they will get mugged. The city just announced 614 layoffs because the finances are such a mess. And this is to say nothing of the recent riots and the catastrophic wildfires that came after the mayor defunded the fire department.
The entire concept of donor state feeding the red states is flawed. It's the tax money that businesses and individuals of every state give to the federal government. Other factors that increase the federal funds a state receives are federal contracts, major federal facilities, and a large elderly population. California is home to numerous big businesses like Apple, Nvidia, and Google. It also doesn't have any major federal facilities or contracts. So if these dynamics are applied to any other state, The results would be similar no matter if it's a red or a blue state. A report from 2023 reveals that in the last 9 years, only 3 times federal funds exceeded California's tax collection: in 2020, 2021, and 2023. The reason was COVID's effect on businesses and special COVID funds allocated to the states. It'd be absurd to assume that a lawyer and representative like Jasmine isn't aware of this. All we could assume is that she brought this dirty, one-sided analysis on purpose. That's why Kiley debunked her with cold facts and brought the discussion back onto topic.
But on to the topic of today's hearing. It's bad enough that we have all of this funding going towards NGOs that then support radical ideological causes. Sort of the logical next step that we've seen is funding organizations that then directly commit or facilitate criminal activity. And this is exactly what we saw with respect to the recent riots in Los Angeles, where you had a group known as CHRLA, the Center for Humane Immigration Rights Los Angeles, that played a central role in organizing the riots. They made use of a hotline through Signal where they would inform rioters at any given moment where ICE personnel could be found, so those individuals could then converge, they could disrupt their operations, they could use commercial dumpsters as battering rams, they could assault officers, and so forth. CHRLA, by the way, has been implicated in other ways in all of the recent chaos that we've seen. For example, the incident where tire spikes were used to disable the vehicles of Border Patrol. The individuals engaging in these crimes were carrying the tire spikes in bags with CHRLA's name on them.
Kiley provided his insights on how nonprofit organizations advance radical agendas using the example of Coalition of Human Immigrant Rights in Los Angeles. As the name suggests, CHRLA is an association founded in 1986 that works for the rights of immigrants. But recent events paint an entirely different picture. The organization held a press conference to protest ICE roundups only a day before the LA riots started. Even though CHRLA can't be blamed for the riots directly, as they deny these accusations, but it wouldn't be wrong to assume that they allegedly played a major role in building unrest, as they were the ones who publicized the map to report ICE activities in LA. The coalition also kept pushing its agenda against ICE even after the riots. The Republican Senator Josh Hawley was so sure of their participation that he launched an investigation against CHRLA for funding these riots. You might be wondering, where are they getting so much funding to support such a huge number of activities? Well, in September 2023, they were granted $450,000 by the federal government, collectively receiving about $1 million from the Biden-Harris administration. But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
And to top it all off, Karen Bass's recent proposal to give cash cards to illegal immigrants supposedly affected by ICE operations are being distributed to them by, you guessed it, CHRLA. So I've introduced a bill, the No Tax Dollars for Riots Act, which will make sure that organizations like this do not continue to get funding, and indeed that they cannot claim tax-exempt status. President Trump has enthusiastically endorsed that bill and said it should be passed immediately. On top of that, this committee, the House Judiciary Committee, has opened an investigation into CHRLA's use of the federal funding that it received during the Biden administration. It also received $34 million from California, accounting for the vast majority of its revenue. It's effectively a subsidiary of the state, or a subsidiary of the sanctuary state, if you will. So, with all that being said, Mr. O'Neill, or if Mr. Gonzalez or our other witnesses would like to chime in on this, how problematic is this that we now have these public taxpayer funds being used to directly facilitate criminal activity?
$35 million of funding in just 2 years. Their activities definitely should be investigated. The Trump administration was already looking into their operations a long time before, as in March 2025, they terminated the federal funds given to CHRLA and tried to recoup $100,000 in unobligated funds. What should the future of these organizations be in the United States? Tell us in the comments section. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can grow and continue bringing you more neutral content.